Everyone is on a different journey, and I feel like if you're able to recognize that and come to terms with that, it makes the post-grad transition not as hard. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Piper Jasmine, and I am in a brand new setting today. I don't know if I should put this a little bit closer to me. You guys, I'm back in college, and I have always said that I miss college. You can literally ask anyone of my friends who just graduated or who's still in college. My number one advice to them is to stay in college. Life does not get better after college, and it's so funny to me. People think it does. Like, post-college is amazing, and it comes with a lot of trials and tribulations, and I actually think I'm gonna change chairs really quick, so 1 second. Okay, this is definitely better. I'm a 5'4" girly, so like my mouth and this microphone, they just weren't meeting, and that sounds a little inappropriate, I'm sorry. So yes, I am back in college for a whole month, and I would be lying to you if I said this has been very exciting. Coming from UGA, this has definitely shown me how privileged I was as a UGA student, and it's been quite an adjustment. If you guys don't know, I'm an Atlantean. I am an Atlanta girly, therefore I am a bougie girly. So this bougie girly is getting a very humbling experience, but we move. So I wanted to take some time today to kind of talk about post-grad blues. That a lot of people who watch my channel, they are pre-med students looking to go to medical school. My channel really started to blow up from college freshman advice videos and starting to post more about my college undergrad journeys in the beginning. And I feel like, my audience is definitely growing and changing as well as I'm growing and changing. And a lot of people have graduated this past year, so let's give a big round of applause for our 2024 graduates. Graduation is such a big accomplishment. College graduation, high school graduation, whichever, classification of graduate you are, it's still a very big accomplishment. So congratulations to everyone. College graduation is a really big milestone, and it's so funny when people are like, I can't wait to graduate college, I can't wait to get out of here, I can't wait to do whatever I want after college, I hate exams, I hate quizzes, I hate assignments, I want to leave college. You don't. I feel like what really isn't talked about enough after college is post-graduation, or what we'll call it in this video is post-graduation blues, because I had a very bad case of post-grad blues. And I just think it's really important to create some conversation about that transition from college to real life. It's just not talked about enough, and it's a very hard transition as well that we just don't acknowledge and talk about, or at least I feel like in my community, it just wasn't a conversation really of how hard post-grad is. And sometimes you would hear some people, make little comments about post-grad, but I feel like until you really experience it, you don't understand how much of a transition post-grad can be. Before we kind of get started, I do think it's important to acknowledge and realize that post-grad, it's not a competition. You shouldn't be in competition with your peers or with yourself, or what you see on social media of how people are making that life transition from college to their post-grad life. It's very important to realize that everyone is going at their own pace. Everyone is going to their own place, but their own pace. Everyone is on a different journey. And I feel like if you're able to recognize that and come to terms with that, it makes the post-grad transition not as hard. So we can kind of discuss pretty briefly about my transition and my post-grad journey. But I graduated from college, from undergrad I was gonna say 2019, and that's just, I would be lying to you. I graduated from undergrad last year in 2023. Undergrad was probably the best experience of my life. I had the most amazing time in undergrad. I met so many amazing people, and I made so many great relationships and had so many lifelong experiences and lessons that have truly shaped the person that I am today, and that have truly like kind of changed the outlook that I have on life today, just from all the things that I've, had to go through in undergrad. And personally, if I had to redo my undergrad experience, I would do it all over again. I've made so many mistakes in undergrad. Like you guys probably wouldn't even believe me, all the terrible mistakes that I made in undergrad. And I would still go through all those mistakes because they really have shaped me to become the person that I am today. And like I had a great grad experience, moral of the story. Me personally, when you are in that age and in that position in college, your senior year, probably you'll start thinking about this more the latter of your junior year. What exactly are you going to do after college? That's the number one question you're going to start to get your junior year. What are you going to do after you graduate? Are you going to go to grad school? Are you going to go to law school? Are you going to go to medical school? Are you going to do a master's program? Are you going to get your different graduate program? And everyone hates that question. I'm sorry if I didn't make this clear, but I'm in medical school right now. So personally for me, I always knew that I didn't want to take a gap year. It's completely nothing wrong with gap years at all. I just knew that I didn't want to do a gap year. And I am not against gap years, and we'll go into this a little bit more later in the video. Always knew that I wanted to go to medical school right after college. That was just the plan that I had that's just the plan that I had in my head. And so luckily for me, that plan worked out, and here I am about to start second year of medical school. I'm actually up here doing an away rotation right now. So that was kind of my post-grad plan, and as a medical student coming right out from undergrad, my post-grad journey definitely has been pretty different than maybe some other people's, which we'll get into. But that's just some background information, and I feel like because I touched a little bit on gap years, we should probably go ahead and discuss gap year. So what is a gap year? A gap year is basically just, taking a year or two or however long your gap year needs to be after undergrad, after graduation, and just figuring out what exactly you want to do next. I am not against gap years. I know many people in my friend group, many people who I graduated with who are taking gap years, and there's honestly nothing wrong with gap years. And I think too, basically my observations, I don't really see any negative connotation of a gap year. And a gap year sounds so scary when you first think about it and when you first hear about it, especially if you're like me, type A, and you feel like you have to have your life figured out right then and there. A gap year sounds really freaking terrifying, but it shouldn't be. I mean, we all have a different path. We all have different goals, and sometimes it takes longer to reach those goals. Delayed doesn't mean denied. Delayed doesn't mean that you'll never reach your goal. It just means that you had to take a little bit of time to yourself to really get your ducks in a row, to really figure out what you want to do. And I think for some people, gap years are more beneficial than just jumping right out and trying to figure out life right then and there. There's nothing wrong with taking a gap year. I think specifically if you're interested in medicine and interested in going to medical school, gap years can be beneficial for numerous reasons. A gap year can be beneficial because you might just want a break from school, and there's nothing wrong with that. School can be completely draining and time consuming. I know some people are using a gap year to travel. People are using that gap year to save up money. However, that's where I kind of get when I hear about people kind of taking gap years to save money. The majority of the people here in our country, in America, you got to take out loans to go to school, or at least post-grad school. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it is kind of an unfortunate thing that our government and, country has kind of set up with the cost of education. But there are more people out here on student loans, to be able to afford their education than not. And, I'm not going to get into the whole different types of loans and subsidies and all of that. That's not my realm of knowledge. I just do kind of think, depending on what course you want to do, like what kind of profession you want to do. I just think it's kind of unrealistic to want to take a gap year to save money. Like, for example, I think my cost of attendance is like $100,000. There's just no way in hell that I can make $100,000 a year to save up to go to school. And I mean, even if I were to like theoretically save up $100,000 during a gap year, that only covers 1 year of school. And that's not saying that, you know, being $100,000 less in debt isn't monumental in a lot, because that is a lot less money that you would have to pay back. But in the grand scheme of things, is it actually worth it to take a gap year to save that up? In my personal opinion, no. Personally, I've never seen a broke doctor, and personally, I've never seen a doctor on the streets. And I live in Atlanta, so there's a lot of people on the streets. I've never seen a doctor in his white coat begging for money. So that's just my little 2 cents about that whole kind of, I need to take a gap year to save up money, because I do kind of think if you're able to manage money a little bit and you're able to spend under, you know, what you take out, you can make something shake. That's just how I feel about it. I know some people who are taking a gap year and they're interested in medicine, they use that gap year to adequately study for the MCAT. For some people, studying for the MCAT and completing school, it's really hard. And it takes a lot of like discipline, a lot of time management to adequately study and do well on the MCAT and still do well in your courses. For me, I found that really hard. You know, for people who need more structure and need more of a time block and a dedicated period to use your gap year to study and prepare for your MCAT. Because honestly, the MCAT is so gruesome. You really only want to study for it and take the exam once. You don't want to have to keep going back, keep studying for it, keep taking it, and going through a whole cycle of all of that again. So if you take a gap year and you just, you know, dedicate 4 or 5 months to studying for the exam, taking it, you'll be fine and be prepared for the next cycle. And you can spend the remainder of your gap year, you know, working, getting experience, which I think is another positive benefit of a gap year. And I know many of my friends who are interested in medicine, they've been using their gap year working as a medical assistant, working as a scribe, working in different clinics, working as a phlebotomist, just to get that experience, which is great, because at the end of the day, you also need experience, you know, in your medical school application. So if you're able to get that experience and make some money and study for your MCAT all within a year, and then the next year you're able to apply and get into medical school, like, why not do it? Like, what are the cons of all of that? I really don't think there is, besides moving back with your parents, but I don't even know if that's a con. Like, you don't even have to pay rent. Like, in this economy, rent is so high. Like, I wouldn't say that there's quote unquote negative benefits for having a gap year during your post-grad year. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself and giving yourself the best opportunity to apply to medical school or apply to whatever profession in graduate school that you want. So if someone were to ask me if I regret not taking a gap year before starting medical school, and you know, people have asked me that before, and I think I don't really know how to always answer it, because a part of me does wish that I did take a gap year, and then a part of me is happy that I didn't take a gap year. And I think that's maybe where I kind of got some of my post-grad blues. And I think my post-grad blues really lasted like the first semester for me. I think after my first semester and after winter break, where I kind of had like a minute up and to chill and to reflect on the first semester, I wasn't so sad my second. I wouldn't even say that. I wasn't really sad at all my second semester with my post-grad life. I would say, you know, as I'm entering my second year of medical school, I definitely feel very, very, very blessed to be in this position, because the fact that I didn't take a gap year before starting medical school, I started medical school at 22 years old. That's not really common, and I'm not even trying to mention that as a flex, because it's not like I actually just made my life a little harder for my 20s, but I started medical school at 22 years old, and I will be graduating from medical school at 26 years old. Like, I will be able to start my career a lot earlier than some of my peers, which once again, it's not a race, it's not a competition, but that's just something to think about. Like I definitely have some life goals for myself in terms of investment, in terms of building a house, in terms of settling down, having kids and all of that, in terms of creating a very stable lifestyle. I'm going to put my future self is going to thank me, because right now my experience here in my internship has really taught me that I really am interested in dermatology, and I've been just starting to think about what the rest of my educational journey will look like in medicine. So that kind of involves 4 years of residency and 1 year fellowship, so that's 5 more years after graduation. So by the time I finish medical school and by the time that I finish the rest of my training, I'll be 31, and 31 I feel like is still relatively old. I mean, 31 is not old. I'm so sorry if I offended anyone. 31 is not old. I'm so sorry. I will still be relatively young, like at 31, if I'm not married, which, knock on wood, like I was just talking to my roommate here, like how lonely medical school can be, and like I hope that I can find and start a long-time relationship with a long-time partner, start developing serious relations and whatever. But anyways, if I don't, knock on wood, 31 is still time to find a husband and to start a family and to settle down in a very nice position in my life earlier than some people. Once again, not a competition, but for my own sigh of relief and for my own self in terms of accomplishing goals, that's just really comforting and just very all worth it to me. Sun is blazing. I think one thing that's so interesting about where I'm at is that the sun, there's too many hours of sunlight. In Atlanta, the sun is up at 8. I mean, it starts rising a little earlier than 8, maybe 6:37. It's out. This sun here, it comes up at 5 a.m. I remember the first night here, I looked out the window and I was like, what the hell? I thought it was 8 a.m. I look at my phone, it says it's 5 a.m. And the sun is fully up, keeping me up out of my sleep. And I'm like, just because the sun is up does not mean that I need to be up. Siri, what's the average age of matriculation to medical school? Siri said that the average age of matriculation to medical school is 24 years old. So, I mean, I wasn't super duper early and young. We only 3 people entered at 22. I was one of the 3, though, just to kind of paint a portrait. So yeah, now I don't regret starting and taking a gap year because of that reason, but where sometimes I do have regrets of not having a gap year was just because of the rigor. There's also high school students here, and so sorry if you guys are in high school and you're watching this. I don't hate high schoolers, but I'm not gonna lie, high schoolers are a little annoying. I had to call the cops on them last night. Why are y'all yelling out in the tennis courts? Go to sleep. You get one sense of freedom and you don't know how to act. Where's the decorum? Anyways, what was I saying? I was saying, yeah, I think sometimes I was at a disadvantage of not taking a gap year because a lot of people in my class who did gap year, they did a master's program, a medical science kind of program, a 1 year, 2 year program that kind of prepared them for medical school and kind of helped them understand their learning styles and how to study and all of that. Y'all, I was in for a shock when I went into medical school, not because I was surprised by how hard it was. I was more so surprised about the amount of work that it was, and I just had to rewire my brain on how to study. Definitely felt like I was at a disadvantage there because I had no clue on how to study. I didn't. And everyone's a different learner, but I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know where to start. I wasn't used to having to manage my time really well and all of that. And I felt like a lot of people in my class, they were at a greater advantage than me because they did the master's program. They did a little medical science, little gap year. Even with some of the content, I wasn't even up to date with some of the content. People already knew. Y'all, what was so shocking? Actually, I was not taught glycolysis in undergrad. I was only taught the steps, and theoretically you can argue that those are probably the main steps that you're supposed to know, or at least for the MCAT I think they were. But I mean, in medical school they want you to know everything. So a lot of biochem, the first time I really had to learn it, because in undergrad they kind of just glazed over it, and a lot of this stuff people already knew because they learned it in their master's program. So I felt very behind in the beginning because I never saw some of that stuff. That was not basic review for me. That was new material for me. I had no idea all of that existed. And I would say that's like the only time where I really felt like that I needed a gap year just to kind of get the hang of post-grad studying, post-grad content, post-grad workload, because that is so incomparable to the stuff that I did in undergrad. Obviously, when you're in medical school, the thing that you need to prioritize is medicine. You have to prioritize your lectures, your labs, the content, the anatomy, all of that. And once that kind of like gets ingrained in your head, my priority, this is why I'm here, it becomes easier. Because I do think for me, my post-grad transition was pretty hard because I was so used to like, no, like I gotta make sure I go to this party tonight. No, I gotta make sure, I see this person tonight. I gotta make sure I get this for this event tonight. And I had to like learn how to reverse that. Like, actually, no, Piper, like your priorities, you would honestly think that it's like 2 o'clock, the way that the sun is like pretty much at its highest spot right now. Wanting to scare you with medicine over the fact of not having a life and like FOMO, I can tell you like 110% I do not get FOMO. Being in medical school, that really did not play a role in my post-grad blues. Well, I'm kind of lying. In the beginning it did, but as I mentioned, once you figure out the whole time management and all of that, you don't get FOMO, because at the end of the day, you learn that when you're in medicine, especially if you're starting school as young as I did, you learn that you're in a different life stage than everyone, and that is completely okay. I feel like that I definitely had to navigate, friendships and that communication of I'm not always available. I'm not as available as I was in undergrad. Do I want to go out at 10 p.m. on a Friday and I haven't had time to mentally prepare for it and rest from the week because I just spent like this past week in the lab taking 4 exams, and really I just want to stay home, watch a movie, and eat ice cream? I'm not mentally prepared for that, and it's okay. And I don't get FOMO, honestly. Like, I would much rather rest and take care of myself than trying to please people and wanting to go out and people wanting to go to the club or drink or any of that. And don't get me wrong, like I still do enjoy those times, but I definitely enjoy taking care of myself more. And taking care of myself more means like working out more, like making time for that, making time for cooking, making time for sleeping, because during the week you're tired, you're exhausted, you've been doing 1,000 Anki cards every day, you've had lecture from 9 to 4, and I am perfectly okay with staying home and catching up on my TV shows that I couldn't watch during the week. I don't really get FOMO because I know that right now I have to do what I have to do right now to reach my goals later in life, and if that means, I gotta stay home, that's fine. And that's why too, like, my main advice for people is like to live out undergrad and like don't leave yet, because I did so many things, good and bad things in undergrad, that I'm not necessarily feeling like I'm missing out on stuff because I've already had enough time to experience, to experiment, to try things and all of that. If anything, post-grad, what has been hard is kind of that readjustment with friendships and relationships, especially being in medical school and trying to like communicate with them and relate to them like, hey, like I'm in this stage in life where I have to sit down and get this done. It doesn't matter how I can't tell you how long it's going to get done. It's going to get done whenever I feel confident with the material, whenever I'm getting these practice questions right, whenever I'm done reviewing. That's how long it's going to take. And sometimes when you're in medical school, like you're going to realize that people around you, they're not in the same stage of life, which is fine because we all go through things differently. But I think if anything, that has been more hard for me post-grad than necessarily FOMO, just kind of like relaying that. So yeah, we moved spots because I have been here for kind of long now, and my camera keeps overheating because the sun doesn't freaking set to 8:30. So I'm sorry, like if this lighting and position is worse, but I'm almost done with the video. So I was saying that I found that kind of transition with my friends and kind of just letting them know like I can't be that like party fun girl anymore. Like those days are behind me, and it's fine. And when people are experiencing post-grad, things aren't as serious, and maybe not as serious isn't nice, but I feel like it's true. Like they don't have a lot to lose right now because they're not doing much right now, which is fine. I have a lot to lose right now, and that a lot to lose is grades, my scholarship, my first board exam, being able to start rotations. A lot to lose in terms of getting papers published. I have to do research. I have to go to the hospital today. Like, I have to do that. I just do, because that is the phase of life that I am in right now. And that's just the journey that I'm at. So I feel like I've had to grow up, not even a little bit, a lot more. Like, my priorities have definitely shifted. And during this post-grad period for me of being in medical school, and that has been like the hardest thing, I would say, for me, and like just the adjustment of friendships and expectations of who I am and what I'm trying to get done and the goals that I'm trying to accomplish. They can go out and party till the sun comes up, and I can't. Not even I can't. I don't want to anymore. A girl is tired. I hope this conversation was, very helpful for some of you. Post-grad is definitely transition, and it's definitely kind of hard to navigate at first, especially in medical school. So I hope this video was able to offer you guys some insight and advice on how, post-grad kind of looks from a medical student's perspective, and, just like kind of what to expect, and like just what it can be like and how it can be different for everyone, and just kind of remember that we're all on our different journeys. And I just wanted this video to kind of be like an open conversation on post-grad and the struggles of it, and kind of what my post-grad journey has been like from medical school. And I hope it was really helpful for you guys. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am honestly burning up, like I'm gonna melt. The sun is literally eating me alive. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe. Can't talk today. It was the sun and be different over here. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe. As always, thank you for watching, and make sure that you turn on the bell, because my summer internship series will be dropping next month. So once a week I'll be posting a video about my internship, whether it's like looks, get ready with me's, exploring the city and all of that. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to bell and drop some questions too that you guys might want me to answer about like internships and away rotations, because I would love to do a video talking about that. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Hopefully the no makeup look wasn't too scary, but yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for watching.